It's going to be a map 2 between MVP and Boots. Boot have a lot to answer for. James, they got absolutely demolished on map 1. MVP, of course, chose that, but now we go to Nuke. It's a very, very different affair on Nuke, so we should imagine that, considering that they picked it, that they, specialists, one would hope.
Absolutely, and we need to get back into the game straight away because the pistol round has already begun, and we've got Boots making their way towards the ramp position, slowly creeping forward, so we can just switch into the game. Because they're making a play towards the ramp position. There's no cover just yet. There we go. We can see that MVP are about to lose possession of that hell area, so things are going to get more difficult here in.
Yeah, Bubba's straight up towards the heaven position. He will get deflected. Trades coming in though. Devi as well. 3 versus 3 as the CTs try to move their way forward. But that's a bomb. Couldn't make his way up the ladder in time. And that's such a problem. Alex is isolated. Devi's here alone, fighting by himself, trying to make it work. But against 3 players, he can't do it. Alex now finally coming in. But he had to go the long way around, and he'll get dropped immediately. MVP picking up the pistol. And MVP did win the knife round, James, and they selected the CT side. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Nuke, the CT side is generally easier to play, especially if you're a team that's not a specialist of this map and it's not necessarily in your wheelhouse. The CT side will still be pretty familiar.
MVP starting on the CT side and winning the pistol could suggest that we will see another dominant half from MVP, just as we saw in Dust 2 at the beginning. Ooh, we got double grenades. The double Bs are out, leaving Splash, Devi, and Alex alone. Now, in a round like this as Boots, you're not force buying. You're buying a few pistols. You want to try and force MVP to spend money. You kill one player, that's like $4,000 taken away. You're trying to build some success to capitalize on that when you're in your buy round. But beyond grenades, MVP won't have any issues here. They won't lose any players, so it won't be made terribly expensive for them. They will continue to use the SMGs, very likely, so they'll keep the average money higher with their team MVP. So if they were to lose a round, they could probably buy around the money they have plus the loss bonus. So we'll see what Boot can do. 4 AK-47s, they've got the Krieg on Benkai as well. Normally you would see a HE grenade on pretty much every T round these days to blow off the squeaky door. Doesn't mean you have to rush into the A-bomb site, but the threat of it can cause MVP to use more utility. We've got the early smokes outside. There was a molly, I think, from MVP to try and disrupt the smokes. That hasn't quite worked out. But again, no HG at the beginning of this round for Boot is not ideal, really.
Bubbasaw has made his way down towards Secret. He's not pushing it just yet. And those smokes are really annoying. You can throw them pretty much every round, and it does this. We see HSK for MVP. He's forced to go down there. He's actually going for a full investigation, and that's a problem because Bubbasaw was just waiting. They took some forward position, and they just cut the noise. They didn't move at all. That said, Sign, he was on point on Dust 2, picking up the trade onto Bubbasaw eventually, but Alex will open things up towards ramps. The ramps open now, 4 players there for Boots, and they can make their way down to the lower bomb site, but once again, they still have some time to try to hold on to their position, see if the CTs will make a mistake. And Zeph actually going to be dropping into the upper bomb site. I think they would have heard that, but can they do anything about it? Sign watching it grab. Right now, they're wondering what's going on. Sign with another frag, with that AK-47 falling back now. He's doing everything right now for MVP.
2 teams moving through. Sign continues to deliver. Eventually, he will be traded. So now Boots have got 30 seconds to try and capitalize on this. Zeph runs straight into the crosshairs of Benkai. Seto tries to get into good position. Almost catches Devi looking to plant the bomb. That was a close one, but Boot will win the round. And we did say that MVP could likely buy around what they had. It wouldn't be spectacular. The money is up to 4,600, down to 2,500. So we'll see what they choose to do. I assume they're still in discussion as no one's bought absolutely anything just yet. And it looks like it will be an eco round. They're not far away from their next buy, so there's no need to take a giant risk and force into this one. Feeling confident when they've got more money, MVP will buy a few pistols, no grenades. Sign will go for Kevlar as well. And they'll see what Boot has to offer. So there's the squeaky door blown off. The P250 for MVP to start things off.
Splashy has to get the bomb and get the hell out of there. So many CT players just taking over the lobby position. And so that does now mean as well that MVP have a better understanding of exactly where Boot are, because they took so much forward map control. Bubbasaw will take down one towards the lower bomb site. And It's so important because they have to force their way in at this point. Benkai's still lurking around the outside, see if he can catch any stragglers, but it is to be MVP rotating all the way down to the low bomb side. They've actually made it there ahead of the T side pretty much, and they're still running around in numbers here, taking down players. This is not how you want things to go if you're Boot.
Yeah, generally the stronger team will thrive on chaos, and again, when Boot have been put into a difficult position, they've struggled to deal with the implications of said position. So again, MVP thriving in the anarchy from that P250 kill towards the, I think it was towards the radio room position through the round. And it just got worse from there. So in a round where one player had Kevlar and they had a bunch of pistols, MVP take 2 AK-47s and a Krieg away from this. So that is not a good indicator for Boot. Getting reset, they just gave so much free money to MVP, and that allows them to pull an AWP out in this round. They went for the eco, expecting to buy strong in the next round, and they've been gifted weapons by Boots. We'll pull out some Desert Eagles and no grenades. Again, we saw how limited success was in round number 2, and I think round number 5 might be similar.
Yeah, it almost seemed as though Boot had issues with decisiveness when they were against the pistols. That's actually something I was talking about in the intro to the previous game. When those situations happen, how does a team react? And are they calm? Do they have protocols to deal with a situation where the pistols start running all over the place and they get a pick here or there? Or do things fall apart? And does the communication get messy? Because that's often what happens. And we saw the desperation setting in there for Boots, and it's quite difficult to really get the damage in with the Deagles. One thing I'm actually curious to see here, James, is typically Nuke is quite difficult on the CT side for an AWP. Only at the very top level, we see most AWPers tend to, AWPers who dominate a Mirage and Overpass, maps like this, they tend to struggle on Nuke. It's a different beast with AWPing altogether.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the challenge, and I don't think that, I don't know how well-versed Boots are, I'll check in a second, but they're moving in with the pistols, and it's going as it should. A clean up for MVP. So having a quick look at the statistics for Nuke. They've both played it 3 times and they've won all 3 times. Someone's going to start to... perhaps we will see something efficient from Boot again. If you want to make a horrible mistake, then it's better you make it earlier than late in the game. Boot 1-4 now, pulling out the AK-47s and the Krieg. So a similar buy. Again, it seems the eco round was more difficult than the buy round when MVP had the SMGs, but MVP have their strongest buy at this point, still wielding 2 AK-47s themselves, and they've got some strong grenades outside to start.
Flashes over through to Garage, and MVP just making sure that this is not a play towards main. You can see it's a very strong position in that Garage area looking towards main. Very, very deep off angle, hard to deal with. However, with the fact that they spotted nothing across towards main and also that presence and stepping outside, they're going to realize that there's action towards Secret, and you can see Sign's already in position. He has been fantastic, especially with the AK-47, which he's wielding right now. So it's going to be curious to see if he can have a repeat performance. See him falling back there, giving up some space. And MVP know exactly what's going on, and Zeta's going to start things off pretty well. The trade comes in.
Sign waiting in decontamination area. A man advantage for MVP. They can wait for Boot to come to them if they're confident it's going to be B. Stacks in a strong spot as well, although, the Molotov won't spread. Now Boot may think that no one is there. Sign's been taken out, so how can Stacks activate in this point, in this situation? Devi in the control room, 33 seconds, and again, Boots have to make efficient use of their time in this spot, because the longer they take, the more MVP will potentially get into stronger positions. Ooh, window opportunity into Stacks. Just a 1, could have been 2, but it was just a 1. Divide by double doors. Now the bomb can get planted towards the back. HSK with an AWP. Defy, where's he off to? He gets taken out. He has to flash 1 versus 2. He won't last much longer. P250 kill again. 2 plays survive for MVP, and we'll see if Minizeta wants to pick up an AK-47 for his troubles or stick with the orb.
Yeah, MVP are really outclassing Boots so far. Once again, we're seeing just the way some of the fights go. It's a mixture of how strong they are individually, some of the decision making we're seeing, for example, the way Zion has been playing his spots. He's very sharp on his mechanics, and he understands when to fall back, when to delay. The communication rotations look pretty good here so far for MVP, and they just seem to be more decisive as a team, and that is very, very key in a game like this. And Boots are starting to really struggle, and Now that they're 1 against 5, perhaps there's some flashbacks of the previous map starting to hit them as they're trying to work out what will be a consistent approach. In the previous rounds, as you mentioned, James, perhaps they took things a little bit too slow and they got a bit stuck, and the time pressure kind of forced their hands and they were not able to clear everything in the ways that would be perhaps the most efficient. So into the next round, then we'll go for a half bite, who's using that loss bonus to eke out as many grenades and pistols and so on as they can to keep the pressure on the economy of MVP. But ultimately, MVP really in the driver's seat at the moment.
Some grenades being lined up for the A-bomb site. Perhaps a smoke towards the heaven position. Has the door been blown off? In the squeaky area, well, the executor is coming in, but will Boots be able to do much with it? HSK moving to the high ground. He's got a free fire from Zeta around the main position. He's been isolated. Zeta with 2 kills. What the hell? He's got 3 pistol kills from Boot very quickly indeed. Benkai's picked up an AUG. He's got a minute 15 on the clock. He's putting out the Deagle, but the AUG has got all the bullets in it, so I'm sure that would be a preference at this point. Now, MVP have no idea where he is. Maybe he gets 1 kill for free. Stax is essentially keeping an eye on the ladder and the outer area. Benkai needs to decide what he wants to do. Stax has dropped down into the site. We can see Benkai he's got the sound cues there. Now, maybe he only gets 1 kill from the upper area before he gets traded. He has got full armor as well, so this is really doable. Still got 42 seconds. Jiggle peeking, spotted 1 player. He needed to get that kill. The element of surprise was really important. Flashbang, I don't think will force him out too far. Now he's looking for the trade fragger. He won't expect him to be in the same spot. Maybe one's heaven, maybe one's hut. 26 seconds now, and they both wait MVP. Edging forward, still hasn't got a kill. Still thinks there's just 1 player on the site. Does he realize yet? They're wide peeking. He presses Q for the Deagle. Has no idea where the other guy was, and that might not be in the right play. 6-1 for MVP.
Indeed, it was close. Just utility and pistols, and they got that much mileage on the the A-bomb side, the upper side. Perhaps we'll see something like that in a buy round, James, where they would have AK-47s instead of pistols. They were able to isolate the defense pretty well. We saw that Zeph was stuck on the bomb side alone, and he managed to get the 2K, but still bomb goes down. Post plant, it was going pretty well for Boots. So one thing that could be quite good is to go into a round like that, but have a delay first so that these grenades, you see these Molotovs thrown by the CTs early on, you get rid of those. They're not concerned. See that smoke sword? That goes away after time. We're getting a ramp take coming in, and again, this is quite good. You take ramp, force the player down lower, the rotations for the CTs start to get adjusted, and you can always come back in through to an upper play if you want. However, they are opting to go fast down lower, and they have outmaneuvered the CTs mostly, but this control room position that Zion's in, it's really important to hold on to this. You see the challenge coming in, headshot angle there for Zion. He plays it perfectly, and it's a 4 versus 4 with the bomb down.
This is really good for Boots, but now we see what their post planters like. The CT start to move in. Zion's going to get his bell wrong. I think that's from his teammate, and there's a HE for the double doors. Zion in control now. Where are Boots? They've all got defuse kits, the MVP players. The smoke might invite the teams out, might draw them out. Alex gets taken out first. There's a molly, splashes in deep. He checks 4, but he will die on his sword. Now last man standing. Does he have angles with defuse? He doesn't. The pre-fire from Sign through the door, and that should be another round. Is there time? There just about is. 7-1 in favor of MVP.
I gotta say, Sign is absolutely beasting at the moment. He's been doing so much work. He looks very confident in his fights. And again, I can't really stress enough that his decision making is really on point. You know, it's flashy to get all the headshots, but it's the way that you arrive to the headshots, kind of the positions you put yourself in, and the delays and so on that you try to put upon the other team. It's just been working out really well. So 7-1 MVP looking very dominant. Again, we don't know how good their T side is. It's a different beast entirely, but if it's like Dust 2 and they get a monumental first half scoreline, then it doesn't really matter too much. So Boots starting to sweat, I would imagine, in this matchup. Sign already down low, playing a very passive position as Bobsol once again goes down towards the secret stairs. And Sign has got a lineup.
He's just looking at the gap, basically, on the right-hand side. So I think he'll let go of his grenade here to make a wall. So he's playing a pixel gap to the right-hand side. So it looks like he's just staring at the wall, but in fact, he has not been told off by the teacher. There is the slightest of gaps. So you used to see Shox play that, for example, but he would just be jiggling and actually facing the gap. So I suppose he releases, but I mean, his grenade might just hit himself. However, if a T peeks closer, even if there is a gap, they would be at a disadvantage if he goes towards the stairs. So just before the peak comes in, he starts to move away. We've got flashes into the A-bomb side, and there is actually an execute here. Sign's got a lovely angle, good for a 2K. And the bomb is in their control now as well. We see one play being spotted by May, looking for more, and that's not quite going to work out. Sign cleans up, and it's 8-1 MVP.
Sign is a beast. 12 kills, 5 deaths at the moment. He's doing so much work for the team. And close behind him is Zeph. And Zeph has been anchoring that upper bomb side. And Sign's been moving around a little bit. We see him sort of on rotation. He assists the upper bomb side, but he's the first guy to go down lower to try to control the flow of players as they go down through secret, if that's how they play it. So Sign's moving around a lot more. Zeph is more static on that upper bomb side. But the combination of the two of them, James, has been very effective so far. And Boot are struggling to find ways to open up the round. And I would really like to see them just run a default, maybe go for a ramp take to pull a player down to the lower position, maybe it's Sign, then come back into lobby, go for that upper set piece with all the smokes and the Molotovs and so on, around like in the mid rounds. You abuse the rotations. They already got a lot of value from an upper set piece on with just pistols, so would be good. That's like the only thing that's works, James. So that's why I'm talking about that. But will they see it the same way?
5 scopes for MVP, 4 orgs, along with the AWP versus some pistols and utilities. So this is an upgraded eco round from Boot, and we've seen him have some success in rounds prior. Again, we don't see that hate cheat towards Squeaky Door. Not a fan, it seems. Different strokes for different folks. Maybe not ideal on a pistol round, but at some point it looks like they will want to breach. But again, with pistols, maybe MVP will just feel completely confident going for the peaks themselves. We've got mollies at the back of the side. We've got counter grenades from MVP. The molly through Squeaky comes too late. They might isolate players. There's no transfer there. Zep's got 2 kills though. There's one from Sign, and that will leave Benkai again isolated from his teammates thanks to that Molotov. So it did work out quite well for the CT. A little jiggle, but they know where he is as well. He has a minute to play with, however, but he won't get anything else out of that. So just a 1 kill for Boot. 9 rounds though for MVP.
And for those of you watching at home, the HUD is currently stuck. It's not Sign killing it, literally everyone.
Yes, it is that. Sign is all the players.
It kind of is. It actually kind of is, yeah. He's been just annihilating the push onto the upper bomb side every single time. It's 14 for 5 now. And this really looks like quite the show from MVP. I wasn't expecting to see so much dominance just on the individual front, but that's what we're seeing. And we'll get those outside smokes once again. This time it looks like we won't go forwards, but Sign's going to find himself another kill as they start to challenge through the Squeaky Door. He's just picking up frag after frag every single round. And I'll have to see if there can be an adjustment here from Boot. They'll go for the ramp take. Stacks will just fall down to the lower bomb site. And again, Boot don't have to commit. When you get ramp control, you don't have to commit down lower, but they have so few players. They just want to go for it, try to trade out. 2 versus 4. It's going to be a tough one. Do they have a smoke? Yes, they do have a smoke. They can plant inside of that and try to get out into position. It's going to be difficult, though.
Yeah. MVP in control of the ramp. That smoke will soon go. Everyone has a kit as well. I mean, that's the luxury of winning every single round, is that you are well equipped. That's a big headshot, though, from Alex. Now, MVP don't know where the other player is, I don't believe. That's going to be pretty key. So Zeph moves in as well as Sign. You can see Divide. It's a lovely headshot from him. Can he find another one? Trying to buy time, but there is Zeta. Now it's a 2 versus 1. The bomb's quite thick. There's no smoke, or is there? There is a smoke. Now they're trying to bait. He's going to find a play, though, to the left, to the right. And here is Zeta. He can't take it, but they will take the defuse. 10-1. Boots with as much success, Dan, as they had in the first half of Dust 2.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see if they can deal with Sign.
Can they deal with Zeta's camera, though? Seems that he wants the limelight. He wants all the attention. Just hope he doesn't pick his nose or something.
Oh my god, this is such a dominating performance from MVP. It's good to see. Good to see that they are capable of such things. It's been cool to watch them over the years. HSK going for a deep peek over by T Red. Now, this is pretty dangerous. They're not expecting that. Beautiful stuff. Takes down Bobasaur. That is quite an awakening, a rude awakening on the outer positions. Oh my god. They're getting absolutely wrecked. At least Alex is able to bring something into the favor of Boots here, but it's short-lived, gets taken down. The bomb is going to be collected by Devi out towards T-spawn here as he'll now rotate through towards the outside. And it's just going to be so difficult to get into any positions. You've got an AWP, he's walking around, only a single grenade, a smoke at the very least, but...
So what is Devi rushing for? Is it like good or very good or something?
It's kind of like... isn't it like come on or something like that?
Yeah, like a battle cry or something along those lines. So it's an unusual name, all things considered.
I think
not quite Devi, not quite Harosh.
Harosho, yeah, this is also like usually combine the two, and it means come on. So I'm not sure exactly in isolation what it means, but I'm no expert.
Well, whatever it is, it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. 11-1 MVP in a steam train, cruising through the hills. And it looks like Boots at a coal, really. Just being thrown into the fire. Pistols once more. Very brief success we've seen from Boot with the pistols. And again, they've got more grenades and more Kevlar, but if they can't win with a buy round, then what can we really expect? Although these can be an anomaly. HK not really, also whoever that is, not getting up onto the roof position. Sign has the bomb. That will allow his teammates to rotate. They're taken out in the meantime. That is Benkai and Alex. Another kill with the Deagle. And again, sometimes the rounds with Anarchy can be easier to win because you've got less to worry about. You're not really fearing or hesitating. You're just going for it. Ding dong from Alex, and it's 2 versus 2. 2 AWPs. Okay. Is there another Deagle shot where that came from? He'll have to be quick. Misses the flick. And HSK will get taken out. So a round for Boot. Again, thriving in Anarchy rather than order.
Yeah, another unlikely round picked up. But it's only 2 on the board on the T side, and MVP, they're doing exactly what they needed to do and just shut down Boot on the T side immediately. Just create a situation where they don't have any room to play with on their CT side. You know, it could be the case that Boot have a really, really strong CT showing. Like if they had started on the CT side, maybe they would have gone 10 plus rounds. But it looks like really MVP are going to be denying any chance of really building a T side. Sorry, it's a CT side, I should say. So it's quite difficult right now. But if they can get 4 rounds together, it is Nuka, of course. So there's definitely a way back in. Alex will be making his way forwards. On the upper bomb site. Let's see what he can do, trying to drop in. But he didn't quite have as much of a surprise as he would have liked. And this is looking very promising here for Boots. They have denied positioning. They have a 4 versus 3 post plant on the upper bomb side. MVP should not be able to retake this. Yeah.
A man advantage due to a lack of respect play from MVP. There's one more molly to be deployed towards the roof if Splash is on the site. Then that should be deployed pretty soon. He is in the A site near the vent. He's taking some damage actually from a CT Molotov. That hasn't quite worked out. I feel like that one could have been deployed, but it seems that MVP will back off and just fight for the last round with what they have left. 2 players. So with the damage Boot have been doing, especially that pistol round, they have sapped the money for MVP. So there's a chance for 4 rounds on the board for Boots, and that might be enough, Nuke being what it is, but they will require a solid CT side.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, it's some signs of life here, and it's a lot of the success is coming onto the upper bomb site. But that said, they've hit the upper bomb site so many times. The overall success rate obviously is a low percentage. However, they are picking up the rounds, and that's the important thing. 4th is on the cards here for them if they are able to have a repeat performance. But it's been difficult here for the individuals of Boot to really get into a position where they can get going. So HSK stuck on a CZ, not ideal, but it'll have to do for now. But we're still going for the pick through the squeaky door, choosing to go for to open it rather than have an HE blow it up. He'll politely close the door once again. Sign watches over by the hut. He's been quite deadly over there.
I really think when the sides change, MVP are going to be HEing the squeaky door every single round. I think we're going to see a stark difference here in T sides. With the limited success, maybe Boots T side needs a reboot then, because it hasn't quite got started.
Nice.
But they can get a 4th round on the board still. They have a much better buy than MVP. HSK's only got a CZ75, but a PC50's been enough in previous rounds. Okay, so we've got a gap play again. He's just on the right corner. There, he sees the players and immediately throws the Molotov down. Considering he turns to throw it, I don't know why they're facing the actual wall, but whatever floats your boat. Some counter flashes, and they'll try to hold on to this area, MVP. The HE will send the gun the right way as far as they're concerned. And again, now Boots are being put in a tough spot. How do they make it work for them? Oh boy, that is a huge spray down a crossfire. And he's Bobasaur's the last man standing, and it'll be a 12-3 scoreline for MVP. Yeah, uphill struggle is maybe not enough to describe the situation. There's a tactical pause from MVP at the beginning of the pistol round. How often do you see that?
Yeah, you never see that, James.
Yeah, I mean,
the answer.
That is true. You literally never see that. So you would think they had their, they had it all laid out. But it might be spawn dependent. Stax has a forward spawn, so maybe they're saying, okay, maybe we should just change things that we would normally run in this particular round. So we'll see if they're going to have a fast play into A or something else. Again, you would expect a HE if it would be a fast play into A. So far, we see a smoke and a flash on MVP. And 3 players are still to buy, so it may still come. Kevlar, okay, Side's got the HE grenade. They smashed the glass, so he should be bouncing it off the wall towards Squeaky Door. There we go. This is a standard HE. This is what you expect to do every round. The flash towards main, the smoke as well. It looks like they're trying to pull rotation into the A site, trying to get Boot out of position. Speaking of out of position, Alex with absolutely no cover, faces 2 plays, and down he goes.
Oh, nice double coming in from Splashki though. But as you say, James, very nice method behind what MVP are doing here. But again, it comes down to those headshots at the end of the day. Sign though and Zeph, they've been the 2 very dangerous players in particular on this map of Nuke for MVP, and they are still alive and kicking. Zion has found his way up towards the T roof. Let's see if he can do something from that position. Zeph as well. Zion getting the flank onto the silo. But Benkai will do the damage, getting himself a nice couple kills, and Boots have done what they needed to do, but it does not end there because the force buy is absolutely coming in.
Yeah, those are a lot of unfavorable duels that MVP were taking. Long range, you don't want to fight with a Glock versus a USP. It is suicide. Maybe if there are 3 of you, or even 2 of you, then fair enough, but especially on the silo when the CT is only showing his head and you're showing your entire body, it's not favorable. But again, MVP are feeling extremely confident in this matchup. That much is clear. So they maybe can do something just with more solid execute, I would expect, on the T side. Again, they have an understanding of the current meta with the HE towards the Squeaky Door. So that is indicative of them being able to do more with less in a round such as this than we saw from Boots.
Yeah, it's actually really cool because so the smoke we saw before was the main smoke, but this smoke that they threw now is kind of the lurk smoke towards Squeaky, and it's a very dangerous one if thrown at every single round. Nice start there from the pistols, and Divide trying to fall back with the MP9, but they get no value from it ultimately, and the upper bomb site's been lost. These pistols doing some damage. There's no utility to smoke off any of the choke points, but it is still very difficult to get through these choke points because there's 5 players left alive. Quick couple flashes sent sailing into the sky here, but the Eagles continue to do damage, and one by one they are going down. Only 1 frag coming in.
Yeah, this is a mess of a round. I think it's unacceptable in that situation in Hut with an MP9 not get a kill in a 1 versus 1 with a pistol. That is absolute insanity to see. And MVP are in a very, very strong position. Cobx, again, just like in the first half, look at all the toys they give away. 2 rifles and an SMG in a round where MVP have pistols. Again, it just shows that MVP are far better prepared for nuke on both sides of the map. The executes towards the A-bomb site, the HE towards Squeaky, the flash and smoke in main. These are standard things which every team should be offering or should have in their repertoire.
Yeah, it does make you feel like MVP are definitely not only just watching the top tier Counter-Strike, but they're actually looking at the demos, trying to implement what they can, and following the standards, as you say. And they're there for a reason. It's a very strong team, and it's just pistols here for Boots. There's actually Robs of Mousesports last year that actually popularized the lurk smoke towards Squeaky, and the sort of nade harassment from that position is very, very deadly. It's come back into favor recently in a much bigger way. You see the flash will come through now as they were trying to make their way up onto the upper side. It's quite difficult to do this. just force your way in. There's so many positions the Pistols can stand in, and the trades are quite difficult, but the MP9 just barely does it for HSK. 14-4 is the score now for as MVP are looking to shut this one down.
Yeah, the MP9 works for MVP, but didn't quite work for Boot, and it was Boot who bought it in the first place, so that is most certainly an unusual situation. And again, I think what we can take away from what we've seen so far is just how much power there is in blowing off the squeaky door. The CT side have no idea when anybody's going to make a play through there, so it really limits. Like if the door is up and the door is closed, then you can do two jobs at once, because you'll get the sound cue of the door being opened when the T's might go through it. But if there is no door, then you don't really have that luxury, so you have to focus on it the entire time. It limits what you can do. You're making life harder for the CT side. It's harder to defend, which is why it isn't to their advantage. MVP will change the pace. Look at all the utility they've got. They've got 4 Molotovs, plenty of flashes and smoke, so they know that Boots are likely, well, they need to identify if they're on a force buy or an eco round first. So I'll take it slower. A Molotov towards the CT van, and eventually peek sign, and he will do some damage. Not quite a frag just yet, but they've got plenty of time on the clock, MVP.
Yeah, and Stacks has already made his way down to the lower bomb side with Zeta as well, so they do some damage on the upper bomb side. They've got HSK just taking a fantastic position with a great vantage point outside, covering people going up and down the flanks. They really have everything under control. They made it look like an upper play. With all the nades that they threw towards the upper position, it felt like it was going to be an upper play, but in reality, it was all about the lower bomb sites. And another great round from MVP. There's, again, if you look at the pistol round as well, like the way that they're setting up some of these rounds, they're really trying to create problems they're trying to create rotations for the CTs, and then they're trying to punish the problems that then arise in those rotations for the CTs. And that's how you want to play a T side. You want to keep the CTs moving around, and you want to hit the weak points. That's what it's all about, and MVP have been doing that fairly well.
Match point for MVP, the second map of this best of 3 series. Again, the usual grenades in, and a wall of smoke outside, very fast moving around, no messing about from MVP. Charging through to the secret area, some nice damage to HSK, but Boot don't really have the information, and again, they've got to fear the A bomb site because Squeaky's been blown off, so MVP just charging through, and you do wonder how many frags Bobosaur is good for, but before moving into the site, MVP will take the control position. They've got a crossfire from decontamination, opening the door, starting to clear. Seems they've got their protocols, they know exactly what they want to do, and it's an ABC job for MVP.
The shotgun for Benkai doing some work, but the trades will come forwards as MVP move forwards into the bomb site. Alex now in the control room looking to see what he can get done. He'll be able to pick off one as Devi also is able to hold things down towards the door. So now there's not really a chance for HSK to get the bomb down. He has a lot of time on the clock, but he's not got any HP. He's got 6 HP, no friends. At this point, it's all about damage. An extra kill or two, just make this hurt a little bit more as Boot will inevitably win this one. And CT spawn for you.
There is a forklift.
And
there is a frag.
So we'll have the end of the round, and people hang on for now. But the problem is that MVP, there's so many rounds in advantage. They need only one. They can just buy. If they wanted to, they could buy every single round. Just keep force buying. They're going to accrue a big loss bonus every time they get a bomb down. That's even more money for more buys. It's just they can just keep hammering Boot.
I think with the strength of their executions, they could potentially move into A with CZs and pistols and utility, and probably have a 50-50 at the very least, but we'll see what they can do with 4 AK-47 for the Galil. It's a nice spray in case there's a CT towards that main position, but now there's a Molotov there. Does he spray again? Well, it seems there is a execute into the A site. They charge through the checkpoint. They've got trades needed, but they're not needed. Zeph is all over the place. And that leaves Bobosaur 1 versus 5. And he won't last very long either. A dominating performance from MVP, really stamping their name on this tournament, and maybe trying to show everybody who's boss.
Yeah, and we saw some of the, I think, the God Flash thrown there as well onto the upper bomb side. So it kind of just reinforces the very fact that MVP, they're a team that keeps themselves up to date. They do their homework. They're fantastic individually, and right now they look like they could be favorites, James.
Absolutely. I think a takeaway from this, as far as Boots are concerned, is that they need to look at what the Europeans are doing to create structure. Because again, it's very telling that they don't have even the HE towards the squeaky door. So I think they need to look at what are the best teams doing, as a team as opposed to individual skill, and how can we emulate that? What can we take away from that? Why are they doing this, and should we add this to our repertoire? I think they can easily go from level 1 to level 4 in that sense, and then just understanding the basics of why something is being done, the threat it creates, and just adding that to your own game. So it seems that the structure they had was very limited there. Definitely needs a lot more scaffolding, but that can easily be absorbed by looking at demos of the top European teams.
Yeah, and I think it's not the case that individual skills lacking on the team. I think, as you say, if you can't get your players into the right spots, then you're never going to be able to get into a good spot as far as the fragging is concerned. And that's one of the things that MVP are doing really, really well. Even if you stick to the basics, if you do it with the right utility and the right spacing with the players, and you just play a simplified trade-based game on the T side, then you're still going to have great results because you're putting your players in positions to succeed, and that's always what it's about.
More on that note from the analyst desk. Over to you guys.
Cheers, fellas. Yeah, well, look, end of the day, I don't think... I mean, in hindsight, it's easy to say not a too surprising of a result, but we have seen this before from MVP.
Yeah, we have, and I'll be honest, right, it kind of felt like Boot said they were prepared, MVP came in really prepared. But what I was shocked about the way Boot was approaching that nuke side was, firstly, MVP did a great job just kind of ensuring Benkai couldn't get up to his hijinks, right? He really couldn't do much. He couldn't flank behind you, always had everything on shutdown. And the problem with Boot, once again, it just looks so loosey-goosey. They really didn't have much control. The few rounds they won was just them bursting out, going for an upper play, catching MVP off guard, or MVP perhaps playing a little too hyper-aggressive here and there. But all things considered, if you look at the entire way the series played out, not just Nuke, but Dust 2 as well, I mean, it just didn't look like this is the Boot we've seen so far, or the recent Boot we've seen online. It just looked like a very lackluster, avatar, so to speak, of Boot. And for MVP, they really look like firm favorites right now.
How do you feel about that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind this is their map pick, so we expected that they would perform maybe better than we thought they would do on Dust 2. But this was very different. I mean, this was their map pick. Of course, they started at CT, so this was something that was their strong point. Now, it seemed to be a bit of a landslide between most of those beginning rounds. And I noticed Boot tended to like pushing A a lot. And MVP had a really, really strong A hold. So I noticed that Boot tended to just set up a bit of utility beforehand. And their utility usage was actually quite strong. But MVP knew how to retaliate towards that. Now, Boot actually almost won a second round when they went downstairs. If you notice, they went down squeaky, and they actually were able to get the bomb plant, and they had the man advantage. Problem is, they actually lost to a ninja defuse through the smoke.
Yeah.
And that must be so demoralizing. But going on from that, I mean, MVP just didn't seem to get too bothered from that, because immediately the next round, they just completely wrecked them. And that's sort of the issue, because again, they start going towards A and A and A. But what I noticed was there was a round in the middle where they just had pistols. Now, they went with pistols, and they managed to get a few fantastic kills with deagles, and they managed to actually get the round. Now, this was something new, so okay, maybe their A pushes actually worked. So they started going towards A again as they were gaining confidence. But with the force spy, they just again...
No, across the camera.
Sorry? Yeah. So they... sorry about that.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. So they actually pushed again on A, this time with the force spy, and they actually forced MVP to save. So it looked like there was the momentum changing.
Oh, we just dodged it.
Oh, he dodged it. But just to touch upon that, right? If you talk about utility usage and the way they approach this, like you said, Boot tried to go for that A hit so many times altogether. But look at the way MVP won that game. The final round, HSK, one perfect flash. He got 3 flash assists. That got him 3 free kills for his teammates, and then they just finish it off like without losing a single man. That's the difference in approach over here.
Fantastic work from MVP so far today, and like you guys have said, and like the casters alluded to, maybe looking like the favorites for this tournament. But it's been all serious over here on the desk. Now time for a bit more fun. We'll head over to Pinda Panda, who is waiting with MVP.
Hey guys, I'm here with Zeta from MVP PK Gaming. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
How was it? How was it playing against Team Boot?
Especially for this tournament, we practiced a lot because it's first international run for us with this new lineup. And so the feeling is good right now. So yeah, we just win for a match.
Speaking of the lineup, how's it going for you so far?
at the first, we are struggling with this new lineup
Yeah.
because there are some very mixture of the young and old guard. So yeah, we need to figure out what is good, what is bad.
So you need a balance.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
right now we just found some balance, at least I think. Yeah,
Oh, you definitely
that's
did.
good.
It was great to watch you guys. Now, I saw your trash talk on stage with Team Boot. That was really embarrassing to watch. You guys need to step up your trash
Yeah.
talk game. I'm very good at it if you want to learn.
Don't
You're
do-
going down.
don't-
As
don't do
somebody
that.
said, you're going down too. That was painful to watch.
Yeah, because we are so friendly each
I'm
other.
kidding. It was great. You can step it up, but it was great. I'm just kidding. So, going on to the grand finals, which team are you looking forward to play next? Alpha Red, Greyhound?
Obviously, it'll be Greyhound. Yeah, because we know they are good, and but now I don't know. We will see what's
You
happening.
know, you said you
Yeah.
know they're good. They
Yeah,
are good.
But now, I'm not sure
Why is that? Why are you not sure?
because this lineup is good.
Oh. Do you think they'll be able to beat you, or you're like full confident that you're gonna just? knock
We
them
are
out as well?
we are now full confident. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it will be good fight.
Yeah. Okay. And last time I interviewed you, you had chicken. I think everybody wants to know. You had chicken curry while in India. So it's been a couple of days. What new foods have you tried here so far?
Actually, I didn't try anything right now, because of
It's been
the
2 days.
no, it's ego of CS:GO. We need to practice.
Oh, so you don't.
Yeah, we don't
okay.
have the time to eat right now. So we win, and tomorrow we win, and we will go
And
everything.
you're gonna celebrate with some spicy
Yeah,
food,
yeah,
and you're gonna go back
Spicy.
straight to the hospital.
Spicy masala.
Spicy masala.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. Anyways, again, it was so great watching you. Good luck for tomorrow. We'll see you again on stage.
Always a bit of fun when MVP is involved. I thought that was quite a cute interview. But guys, I think it's fair to say, based on that as well, from what we've heard from Zeta, that MVP is kind of feeling confident with this tournament now.
Yeah, and I think we kind of figured out how they're winning stuff. You don't get to eat if you don't practice, right? I think that's the
That's
right
so
way
funny.
to go about it. It's like, all right, how many hours of deathmatch did you put in? One, you don't get dinner.
You get one grade.
You maybe get one grade, maybe a banana,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think.
Well, they're
all-
confident now until they eat spicy food.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very smart idea as well. Don't try to spicy food if you're not
I have
used
been
to
avoiding it.
Exactly.
We're not going
because
anywhere near
you
that.
still have a tournament to play, right?
Yeah.
Maybe once you win, you can go there and then spend the rest of the day in the toilet, perhaps, because it can get a little rough for people who are not that used to the food. But all jokes aside,
Sounds like my first day.
you've had a rough time, man.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, all jokes aside, I think MVP are looking really solid. I like what he said. He's like, yeah, we're going to face Greyhound. He's like, Alfred's going to get dominated. And I think we'll touch upon that later.
Yeah.
Because
Not
obviously
exactly
that game's
like
hanging
that,
on later. But MVP's confidence and the fact that, yes, we haven't seen him play many maps, and I think that's the advantage of using here. Like that Dust 2 performance was just out of the left field, right? No one saw that coming. It was great. And even the nuke looks so very solid. Now, here's the thing. Just looking at these two maps, now I'm like, wow, they can play Inferno pretty damn well. The Mirage is solid as well. The only map they're probably going to ban out is Cash. So they can pretty much play almost all the maps here. So if I was Greyhound, they, in my opinion, they're still favorites. But I think if it comes down to Greyhound versus MVP, it is going to be one hell of a barn burner.
The problem with the landslide that we just saw as well is we can't really tell if it's. I mean, we have to credit MVP, of course, but we can't really tell if it's just them performing exceptionally well or if Boot is maybe playing a bit less than they're used to. So I guess we'll have to first see. I mean, mostly we've been seeing them on CT side, at least on Nuke. We haven't seen their T side that much. Yeah, we've seen a few rounds here and there, but it did end 12-3. So Dust 2 especially, they definitely have something there that they've been hiding, that they've been doing in their prac times. Because again, we haven't seen them play it professionally as of yet until earlier in this match. So there's definitely something there.
Yeah, and just to also want to touch upon the fact that, yes, it was a very impressive win for MVP, right? But also kind of like helped out by the fact that if you look at Dreamscape, they kind of made MVP look really good. I felt like you spoke about Dust 2. There was no adaptation coming out from Boot, and even when they did try to adapt a little bit, it wasn't just good enough, right? It was just like haphazard people running around trying to get lucky, trying to win duels rather than have an escape strategy. So they made him look very, very good. Again, don't want to take anything away from MVP. Greyhound are going to be a much more challenging opponent. Greyhound are really solid on Dust 2. But look at it. Greyhound and Dreamscape yesterday, 16-13 on Dust 2. Today, MVP just demolished Dreamscape,
I
right?
mean,
So
one more thing to keep in mind is that although Boot maybe had a bit of a struggle trying to adapt, MVP did adapt. On the rounds that they were losing, they immediately adapted and brought it back. And that's why they won with so much of a landslide as well.
Yeah, I'm interested as well on your thoughts here, Blair, because I remember when we were talking, on Thursday before the broadcast started, about the teams that were at this tournament. We were just thinking, like, who's the best, who's looking good, and you were fairly confident that Greyhound, at least in your eyes, and correct me if I'm wrong, were coming in as the favorite. Has that changed a little bit now, having seen what MVP was able to do to boot?
I don't know. I still am going to stick with Greyhound because, like I said, MVP so far I wouldn't say they've been the biggest surprise, but they have been a surprise. We knew they were going to be probably the second best team in this tournament, right? But you said they were going to be probably the best. But we agree. They are one of the best teams in this tournament.
Exactly, and MVP has admitted that they are still a bit unconfident in their current lineup.
Yeah, they're still building up. Yeah, exactly. They're still building up to that. But I still, like, on the desk as an analyst, like, I always rely, I personally, we have feelings. We have like, okay, we heard that this team's practicing a lot, but facts are facts. And the facts are Greyhound did play in the major. The previous major, just a couple of months back. They were looking the best team in the minor as well, apart from Renegades, obviously, right? Renegades are right now in a different league on their own. Yeah. VG are really good as well, but Greyhound were beating VG. Sure, in the majors, they kind of fell a little flat over there, but the major qualifier, rather, whatever you call that stage right now, the new Challengers stage. But all things considered, they are still the best Australian team. Right now, if you look at Asia as a whole, I think the Australian team has a much more higher level of competition. So you're talking about teams like Order, you're talking about teams like Chiefs, for example, and we have other teams, even the teams right below them are pretty competitive teams as well. So for Greyhound, they have a pretty high level of competition compared to MVP, who, yeah, you play against Tyloo, you play against VG, who else do you really play against, right? So I think overall, looking at the map pool, looking at players like Urcast, and, and I think, honestly, I think Dexter's one of the most underrated in-game leaders in the scene right now, and also one of the better players from the region. I still am going to stick with Greyhound as my favorites.
Depends on who you ask regarding the Dexter thing, because I think if you asked an Australian, they 100% are going to be saying he's probably the best in the region.
I think Chad agrees with me as well.
But maybe internationally, a bit flying under the radar in a sense.
Yeah, internationally he's flying under the radar. I think Sponge made a very good point. Like, I think he made a tweet, and I spoke to him as well during the Asian Minor, where Sponge was like, Dexter and Urcast, and we're just like theory crafting, like, and he's like, I think I want to build a super team in Australia, and he's like, Dexter and Urcast have to be there.
Yeah, of course.
And then you probably pick up someone like Siko is still, I think, untested. I think he can really do much in his team, and I really want to see Malta and Mr. Richard Stacey really step up to the game. They've been the guys who do kind of have the bitch role, so to speak, in Counter-Strike. They have to do some of the support roles and be kind of like the player playing from the side, the back of the sides. And this is a tournament where they can really get unleashed. They can really show what they can do against opposition, which is not really exactly on par with, let's say, the top 20 in the world, right? So I'm looking forward to see that Greyhound, not the Greyhound we saw at the majors.
Exactly, and something I wanted to point out earlier to your earlier point is that it kind of reminds me of the older days in the Danish scene, where Glaive wasn't exactly on the top either, even though people always considered him one of the best, especially in Source. You had Fetish in the main Danish lineup, and then you had Kerrigan. And all this time, I remember at the time thinking, why don't they just bring in Glaive? And Glaive kept going around as a fragger rather than in-game leader. And it wasn't until he joined Astralis that you see now how Glaive is. And it could be the same thing in what you mentioned earlier about the Australian CS. It just reminds me so much of what we've seen before.
Yeah, and I think while many people would want to see, for example, the best 5 players come together, we all know that is not necessarily the way things work out. Look at the Danish scene, for example. Yeah, we have Astralis, and then you have a crap ton of really, really, really good players, but not a consistent second best Danish team right now, right? I think that's the thing with Australia is, compared to that, you have Renegades, who, they're still Australia at the end of the day, right? Although they have really elevated themselves way above. You have Renegades, but I think on a very good day, an Order, a Chiefs can pull off the upset as well. So just looking at the pedigree, looking at how much of a Chiefs so far, looking at the way they play, looking at the way they adapt, and I saw some really cool stuff from them at the Asian Minor. And they've been playing together, not just the core, like the core 4 have been playing together for quite a while right now. So all the Sterling left, and Siko came inside the team. They still have the same old, fundamentals down. Well, this team, they're looking good, but it's still pretty damn new.
Well, that's what we have to find out. Obviously, Greyhound and Alpha Red is what's coming up next. That's going to be a big game, particularly for the Greyhound guys who will feel as though anything but a second place here or better is going to be very disappointing for them. We're going to head to a quick break, guys. We'll be back at 6:30 Indian Standard Time for our next game.